Welcome everybody to Senior Circuit. My name is Ashley Speliotis. I'm the director of the Somerville Council on Aging. I'm very pleased that we have John Pecchia here today to join us and to talk about health and wellness and exercise and motivation, all great things for our older adults in Somerville. So John is the owner and operator of Get in Shape for Women in Porter Square, but he's also been our guest virtual exercise instructor over the summer and throughout the month of October, helping to get all of our seniors in shape from the comfort of their own home, which must be something new for you, right? During COVID, starting to teach online.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely been a pivot and an adjustment, but just being able to roll with the punches and figure out how to navigate the new online world of training.
Yeah, absolutely. It's brought so many benefits and new people to the center. But before we get into that, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and what you do and your love for exercise?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a great opportunity to be able to work with the senior population in Somerville with the Council on Aging. But a little bit about myself. I've been in the fitness world since I was 16, 17 years old. So it's been almost 20 years being in the business in some way, shape, or form, and just having a true passion for it. And over the course of my career, I've dealt with multiple different populations, stemming from professional athletes, amateurs, and just average population, senior population, and just kind of everybody sprinkled in between. And it's such a rewarding opportunity to work with all different types of people and the different diversities in ages and ability levels. And I've definitely come to have a fondness for the senior population in general, because it takes a little bit more grit and drive to want to continue your aging process in a healthy manner. And I just love the things that I'm able to do with a lot of the people as they're getting into 50, 60, 70 plus years old.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned that it takes a little bit more grit, which I love how you describe that for exercising when you're older. And I think it goes both ways to continue to exercise when you're older, or even to start to exercise at an older age. And we hear that a lot in the media from our doctors, that exercise is important. And what makes it specifically important in regards to the older adults?
Oh, great question. When you're getting older, the importance of exercise definitely helps with a number of different things to make the aging process a little bit easier. But most importantly, the more you are incorporating regular exercise and physical activity into your daily routine and regimen, the more you're decreasing your chances of stroke, heart disease, other lingering health conditions, but not even internally, but the addition of weight training can help with bone density to limit your chances of any kind of breaks. I know as we get older, our bones and our bodies get a little bit more brittle and frail. So if you're improving your bone density with weight training, then if you take a fall, then you may not break your hip or your arm in the same way that you may have before. And then also with that too, you're improving your balance when you're doing a lot of weight training, depending on who you're working with and what you're doing. And that's definitely an important thing as you're getting older too, because a lot of times what I will see with older populations is they will start to lose that strength and mobility in the hips and the legs. And you kind of see people getting that little shuffle as they get older, and just by training to improve your leg lift and your foot lift, and your strength in your hip flexors, that helps prevent those types of falls. Especially, I don't know if anybody else has seen the sidewalks in Somerville and Cambridge, but those little little bricks and nagging little things on the sidewalks. Definitely helps prevent taking a spill on one of those.
Yeah, and lots of good things you mentioned, like our balance and our strength, which is what the class you've been teaching for the Council on Aging has really focused on. A little bit of strength, a little bit of balance, weight training. So really to keep everybody moving and sustaining and being able to age in place is so important. Even would you say for the younger senior in their 60s and not even maybe would you say thinking about mobility issues at that point?
Yeah, it's never you're never too young, never too old to start exercise, really. And just by incorporating a little bit at a time or a lot of it at a time, even if somebody is starting into exercise, no matter the age, you still want to just kind of chip away at it a little bit at a time versus trying to go all in. And the what I like to call the all or nothing principle, what we call in the training world too. And you're a lot less likely to be motivated further on if you're just trying to go all out all at once. So just being able to kind of trickle into the exercise routine and regimen.
Yeah, I think that's great, being able to trickle into it. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking of some of our programs here at the senior center where folks are doing exercise and moving and aren't quite even thinking about it, like with some of our musicians and our music and movement class where they're listening to music and doing slight hand motions, and how sometimes that can really motivate you to the next step, to try maybe meditation and yoga, and then try to move you into something more like a general exercise class. And how a lot of times we hear just starting off with a gentle walk can be so important. So I think I like how you phrased it though, with just trickling in.
Yeah,
is
no,
a good part.
and you kind of nailed it right there too. Just the variety for anybody, and I see it all the time. Just being able to do a little bit of something goes such a further way, instead of just trying to focus on one thing all the time. Like being able to sprinkle in the hand motions, aqua aerobics, or and just walking or moving around. Another one I'll throw in there is just the phrase "motion is lotion." Just keeps the body going.
That's good.
The liver and going and lubricated from a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great to think about that, because sometimes when people take a hiatus from exercise, it's hard to get back into the groove of it.
Hey, I can tell you firsthand, it happens to me too. And even what I was telling you before with the all or nothing principle, I'm one of the biggest culprits with that one. If I take a month off or a couple weeks off or whatever, or I'm training for a marathon or something totally different than what I'm doing for 6 months, then I'll try and go right back to where I was 6 months or a year ago, and then my body will rebel from trying to overexert myself. And I always have to remind myself to, like, okay, no, you just gradually get back into it. You don't have to start right where you left off.
Exactly. I know we've been speaking about a lot of different exercises so far. The general exercise, aqua aerobics, you mentioned. What is your favorite exercise to incorporate for your classes with the older demographic?
So if good question there. The probably favorite one that I would have, and it would depend on the individuals that I'm working with too. So as long as there's some shoulder health is there. One of the best exercises that I've always enjoyed doing is any variation of a plank, because that in itself, as an exercise, for those who don't know what a plank is, it engages the core. So you're just kind of you're getting a little bit of everything from the shoulders all the way through the feet. And you can make variations to a plank. So you can modify it to make it easier for anybody doing it, whether you're on an elevated surface to take more body weight off, or you can do it on your knees instead of your feet. You can take a point of contact away to make it more challenging and working on the balance that we were talking about before. But all of those areas are so important and integral from whether you're 15 years old or 90 years old to be able to have that all-encompassing strength for the core and for your body in that way, and really be an exercise for all. And anybody can do it. Everybody should do it, and it can work you out in all of those different ways depending on how you're utilizing it in any kind of way.
I think that's a good point, how you talked a little bit about the modifications of a plank, because I think some people see the exercise videos or, different challenges out there of how long you can hold a plank, and even just sometimes getting down on the floor. And the idea of doing a plank can be intimidating, but there are so many variations of each exercise. That it's really important to keep that in mind, that it's not all or nothing. And we're not going to be starting off doing the same as what we see in the exercise videos, or even really the person next to us in class.
Exactly. And that's one thing I learned very, very quickly when I was transitioning or pivoting right when COVID started. Day one, I signed up for a Zoom account and went right into the online training, and just having such a diverse client base already, and then welcoming in people from all over the map. I think I ended up having my biggest session during COVID. I had three different countries and like 10 different states all joining in on one Zoom session. And so when you have that many people coming in all at once, you learn really quickly that you can't do the generalized standard exercise video, because you might have a 20-year-old and an 80-year-old in the same session. So being able to incorporate an easy modification or a hard modification to any exercise that you're doing in those videos. And that's really helped with even the class that I'm teaching now for you guys, for the Council on Aging, incorporating some slight modifications, knowing that everybody's coming in from a different background, and they have different conditioning levels and experience levels. And it's great too, being able to have open communication with the different population, and just being open and receptive to, okay, email me or let me know like what exercises are working for you, what you're liking and what you're not liking, and we can be able to kind of make those adjustments along the way, and just kind of delivering that on a regular basis.
Yeah, you made some great points there, that really about the connection, that was surprising, but that we did see through our Zoom classes and that are ongoing here at the Senior Center, of people who used to come to our in-person class, transition to Zoom, then told their friends, like, let's have a date to do exercise together. And I believe it's still going on, where people in different states and countries are joining, because it's a good way to connect. And instead of looking through the screen, you're getting a lot of benefits of health and wellness and training over, from the comfort of your own home, which is very nice to see it continue even after the intense period of COVID.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you said it right there again, just having that connection and interconnectedness from person to person, being able to set the date with somebody else, and just keeping one another accountable to be able to show up and do it regularly. And then you get everybody just kind of staying into their routines. Like, okay, I got class at 1 o'clock. I have to shuffle this table around and move this chair so I have my space and my area. And it just becomes that daily or weekly routine.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think it always comes back to a little bit, is accountability, but also motivation and motivating one another. I think personally, and you can tell me your thoughts about motivation being a big factor for health and wellness. And what advice do you give people to stay motivated or to start?
Yeah. So for and it really is tough, like with the whole motivation factor, because we all have different things that drive us to that spot as well. So what motivates me may not motivate anybody in the same
Mhm.
capacity. But just being able to remind yourself that it's a marathon and not a sprint, and it's taking baby steps along the way. What we said before about the whole all or nothing principle. You don't have
Mhm.
to just because your doctor says you should exercise, or you know that you should start incorporating some physical activity or exercise in your routine. It doesn't mean that you have to go to the Tufts track and do 10 laps around the track just to get health benefits. It could be as simple as just reminding yourself to go for an extra loop around the house, or it could be trying
Yeah.
to get some extra water in the day, because water is such a good fuel for our bodies. And I feel that the more that we're at home or not necessarily moving around, or we're focused on what we're doing, whether it's work or watching grandkids or anything like that, distracts us from actually being able to get our body hydrated. Um,
Mhm.
but for motivation's sake, sometimes it's just doing one thing and then adding a little something else, and then after another week or two adding something else. And so that could be as simple as, okay, I'm gonna walk to the store instead of drive to the store if the store
Mhm.
is a quarter mile away. Or I'm gonna try out this class for 30 minutes and just do what I can. It's okay if you don't last a whole half hour. Just remind yourself that if you show up for a class for 10 minutes, that's 10 more minutes than you would have done for yourself without showing up for the class. So that's a win. Put that in the win column. And just being
Yeah.
able to take those small victories on a regular basis, and just
Mhm.
being able to identify, like, okay, I did something for myself. It doesn't have to be all the way up here. It can be down here, and then we just work our way, and that's more than I would have done yesterday.
Mm. I think you compacted so much in there. I just want to highlight a little bit of it because you made some excellent points about even, not going to the track, not maybe working your way up to the a quarter mile, but really starting like exercise is walking around your house if you do it
Mhm.
purposefully. Like we have one of our other instructors here always says, when you're watching TV, walk in place while sitting. That's exercise. Making sure you get up every half hour off the couch to walk the length of your house. Like that's exercise. That's starting. That's a good starting place. And really, building upon that will get you to
Yeah.
where you need to be.
Absolutely. And what we hit on earlier too, just the accountability factor of having a buddy.
Mhm.
That's a huge motivator for a lot of people. Just knowing that you have somebody else waiting for you or showing up as well, whether it's
Exactly.
for class or having just a friend texting you or calling you in the morning, like, hey, did you do your walk or whatever today, or did you do your stretches when you got up out of bed? And just having
Exactly.
having that little reminder can help you stay a little bit more regular and consistent.
That's right. Because even there's so many types of exercise, like we've been saying, and so many parts, like
Yeah.
the stretching part. So even incorporating some stretches in your day, like that's where exercise begins. It's not always doing the whole class, but it's starting small
Hmm.
to move along.
Yeah.
Um,
With our classes, we're always starting with a warm up and ending with a cool down to still incorporate those same types of movements. So it's not always just hard exercise all the time. We want to keep that body in motion.
Yeah, yeah. What are some of the challenges you see people face? Kind of some of those things to watch out for that kind of knock people down and prevent them from exercising or sticking with it.
Well, I mean, the tried and tested excuses is definitely one of those wavering factors on a regular basis. Whether I see it personally at my studio or working with the current crowd that I have online with the Council on Aging, there's always something going on. Whether it is I worked late, I can't make it. I had a tough time waking up. I can't do the morning session. My kid has this at school. I can't do that. There's always something piling up or something happens. So there's still the effort to chisel out that time for yourself, and it should be considered like this is my me time. This is me rewarding myself, and just whether it's giving yourself 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or a full hour, it's still a little bit of something that you can be able to make for yourself in the day. But so that's one thing. And then obviously as you get older, sometimes the injuries can stack up a little bit more. So as a trainer first, we want to make sure that we're not making injuries any worse than they already are. So on one side, you want to try and improve everybody's strength and their mobility and their flexibility and their balance. But then on the other end, if they have some injuries that are hindering them from being able to do certain movements, we also want to be that liaison in between to make sure that they're getting the help that they need and being able to recommend a physical therapist or maybe getting it checked out by a doctor before we start to incorporate other things.
Yeah. So having really good communication, that you would say,
communication is absolute key, and like being able to have that from one person to another, because everybody feels something different in their body. The so many ailments that we have are so subjective versus if you break your wrist, like that is some objective pain. Like we know what that feels like. But if somebody has a naggy shoulder or their neck's bothering them one day, we have no idea of knowing what exactly that is. So we're always trying to make some adjustments or pivots to make sure that we're not causing more pain, but we still want to be able to move the body for anybody coming in.
I mean, it goes right back to what you were saying in the beginning, that everything can be adjusted and kind of that moving. And I do want to bring it back to your first comment a little bit in saying how exercise is your me time. It's really a point of self-care for you. It brings so much to the table, like you were saying right when we started our conversation, of helping with sleep and helping with relaxation, helping, with heart disease. So it is something to really focus on and to find your buddy. I think, like you mentioned, find the exercises that work for you, and the time of day that it works for you. So would you say it's a little bit of trial and error period when you get started?
Oh, absolutely. I see plenty of people on a regular basis. So when we're training at my studio, our first session is at 6 a.m. in the morning and our last session is at 6:30 at night. And I get some people that when they start a membership, they might say, oh, you know what? I really want to try doing the 6:30 a.m. session. I'm not usually a morning person, but I want to try it out anyway. And, I have to respond back and say, like there's no magic hour on what, like there's nothing that's really been proven 6 a.m. gets you in better shape than 6 p.m. as a workout. It's kind of like the whole like what's better, cardio first or weight training first kind of mentality or theory. It's just finding what works for you, and what works for you doesn't necessarily work for everybody else, but it's finding what is unique to yourself to have that motivation to keep yourself accountable, finding that little sweet spot and just being able to work with that and generate that momentum moving forward.
I mean, even trying out all the different exercises is kind of like an adventure in itself that I know can be frustrating for some, but to I guess thinking like class hopping and shopping around as an instructor, do you have any advice for that? Do you think it's a good practice for people to try?
Oh, absolutely. So there's good side and bad side to that, and it all depends on what the goal is for an individual. So right now there are a couple platforms out there. One of them that I'm partnered with my studio is called ClassPass, and what that does, it actually gives that variety to people. So they sign up for a membership with ClassPass, and then all of these other fitness spaces are partnered with ClassPass. And so a person with that membership can use their credits to go to my studio. They could go to a spinning studio, a yoga studio, and have that variety. And I think that's great. I think it gives that variety for people so they don't get stuck with the same thing over and over again. But if you don't necessarily have like a goal, like say you want to be, you're really trying to put weight on or put certain strength on, then having that variety may not work for what the end goal is, because you're then not getting the same routine, you're not getting the same structure. So when you're working with a trainer like myself, and someone were to come up to me, and I'm going to use our population for the example, and just saying, John, I want to increase my bone density. I'm 75 years old. I just want to keep up with my grandkids. And then that's going to work for us, because we have that one-on-one or that environment to be able to work on those goals and be able to palpate where we're going with that. But if they're going from me and then going to this class or that class or this class, then there's no extra communication from me to another trainer or an instructor. I can't really keep tabs on where the stepping stones are really getting to.
Exactly. I know we have just a minute or two left. Is there any kind of positive parting advice you would like to depart on the seniors of Somerville, or a little bit more about your love and passion for exercise?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest positive that I just love to leave with everybody is that it's a lifestyle. I mean, it's not just doing it to do it. It's something that you should be able to enjoy and incorporate into just your daily life, and just finding that joy along the way, whether it is going for a walk outside, whether it is going swimming, doing an exercise class, or finding somebody to do it with. It could be taking healthy cooking classes to be able to start incorporating a healthier nutritional balance as you're getting older. But it's never too late to start. And I always want that as a reminder, whether you start when you're 12 years old or if you start when you're 85, it's still doing something for yourself. And everybody has their reason for doing it. Everybody has a reason for not doing it, but just trying to stay positive and keep that body moving forward makes everything makes the aging process a little bit easier as we go along.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you to all of you for joining us for today's program.
Thank you so much for having me.